AP Lang. Today, we'll be discussing net neutrality. Before we get into whether we should have it or not, let's first explain what net neutrality is. The formal definition is a principle that internet service providers, companies like Comcast, Verizon, or AT&T, which I'll be referring to as ISPs from now on, should enable access to all content and application regardless of the source, and without favoring or blocking particular products or websites. Sounds complicated, but what this basically means is that ISPs have to treat all data on the internet the same. What this means is that with net neutrality active, ISPs can control what price you pay to get onto the internet, what speed you get data, and or the volume of data that you can stream or download. However, what they cannot do is charge you differently for how you use that data. After paying the initial fee, ISPs have to charge you the same whether you spend your time playing video games or reading news articles, even though they consume completely different amounts and types of data. Without net neutrality, ISPs are no longer required to view all data equally. This means that they can lower download speed from certain sources or block them entirely, and stop doing any of this at any time for any reason. An already existing concept of what could happen without net neutrality is cable TV, where you pay baseline fees for some channels and have to pay more if you want to view different channels. Net neutrality seems fair, right? Well, here's the thing. The fight for net neutrality was already lost. On June 11, 2018, the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC's newly appointed chairman, Ajit Pai, and the 4 other unelected members made the decision to repeal net neutrality despite the wishes of the public, including various legislators and the former president of the United States. So now, the fight is not to keep it, but to restore it. Now, the question you all probably have is, why should I care? Well, first off, this repeal is bad for content distributors, companies like Netflix, the New York Times, or Crunchyroll who use the internet to distribute data, since competition is basically removed from the internet. ISPs can throttle data until the business or company who wants to distribute that data is able to pay for faster transfer speeds. What does this mean? Well, bigger businesses like Google, Amazon, and Netflix will be able to pay for those faster transfer speeds, while the smaller ones who rely on the internet for business and advertising will be drowned out by the bigger companies who are able to pay for prioritization. And because they cannot pay, less people visit their websites, which means they get less money, which means they are further unable to pay for prioritization. It's a horrible cycle that only already big businesses who are able to pay for prioritization in the first place can escape. We might never see the next Netflix because it never took off, even if it had better optimization, options, and prices. Second, this repeal is negative for consumers since it kind of obviously infringes upon our money and our freedom. It's a very American issue. Without net neutrality, the ISP more or less controls what we see on the internet. Despite this happening for different reasons than, say, Chinese censorship, it still controls what information we are seeing. This is also bad for those who use a lot of data on the internet or like to visit a lot of different sites. So, a lot of people, since they will end up paying much more. Without net neutrality, the ISPs make a lot of money at the expense of content distributors and consumers, since they control the data that goes between the two. Hopefully, at this point, you're convinced of the necessity of net neutrality and want to join the fight to #SaveTheNet. Remember that the FCC is a federal organization, which means that it is a part of our government. This means that you can message your Congress members by phone, text, email, or anything to encourage them to support the Internet Act of 2019, so that they do something in government for net neutrality and roll back the FCC's devastating decision in 2018. Currently, there are no rules preventing blocking of websites, content, or services online, no rules preventing throttling or slowing down of websites or services online, and no rules preventing pay prioritization where broadband providers give preferential treatment to some websites and services over others. You may not have noticed any changes yet, but that's only because it's only been a year and net neutrality is still a sensitive subject with the public. I hope that net neutrality stays a sensitive subject, and I hope that we can change this and that you support us in the battle for the net.